Yes.
Okay, so welcome to the Essential Spirituality YouTube channel. I am Miriam Kadri, and I'm here today with Amina Makhdoom Lynch. And let me tell you about her. So Amina specializes in high performance, which I love. And her work focuses on bringing proven success strategies to individuals and companies in order to help them achieve their most important challenging goals. She teaches a one-day success strategy seminar for individuals to help them clarify what they want to do and determine the obstacles that have kept them from achieving their biggest goals. With her combined background in business consulting and high performance, Amina is able to help individuals and businesses apply proven principles for sustained success. So that is so nice to have you, Amina.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I'm so glad we're getting to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So it'll be very nice. So alhamdulillah, let me ask you this, because I want to share with the readers of, I write a newsletter, Productive Wisdom, and I want them to know something about your background and your spiritual evolution.
Yes. Okay. So I was born in the United States to Pakistani parents. So both of my parents are immigrants, and actually both of my older sisters, I have two older sisters, were born in Pakistan and moved here as babies. Wow. So I am actually the only member of my family that was born in the United States.
Wow. Yeah.
Both my parents are practicing Muslims. I think one of my biggest influences was my grandmother, who's now passed. I really loved how she practiced Islam. And I realize now later in life, I've picked up a lot more of her way of practicing. She was an embodiment of religion.
Wow.
So, religion has always been a big part of me. I loved going to Sunday school as a kid. Teachers would throw candy when you got the answers right. So I'd like a ton of great religious knowledge because I really loved candy and I didn't get much at home. So I was like, I was in it. And I love the fact that the prophet's mother's name was Amina. I felt like somehow that made me special. Like, I was part of like a legacy and a really cool, like group of people.
Right.
So I really loved being Muslim as a kid.
Right.
And because as a kid, it's less about the rules and it's just more about learning and all of that.
Yeah.
And then
would you say the joy of the faith? Like it's about enjoying. And so there's a lot of like, you want children to be happy when they're practicing. And so there's a lot of joy.
There is. But I do remember like, we had songs like, I don't know if you ever heard the song, Be Careful Little Hands, What You Do.
No, I have no.
Because Allah up above is over us. Be careful, little hands, what you do. So there was definitely the fear aspect of God.
Yeah.
I just don't recall it as, I think it was there. I just don't think it like permeated at that stage in my life. Later in life, it permeated, what kind of is there in the background? You see this with children, like it was just kind of in the subconscious. It came out a little bit later.
Right.
So I actually I feel really lucky that I got to go through a conscious journey to then choose to be Muslim again, kind of in my teenage years, 12, 13 years old. I made a decision to learn and study and kind of consciously become a Muslim. And that was influenced 100% by the fact that I grew up in America to Pakistani parents who had all kinds of interesting rules, and all the rules were always Islam.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what the rule was, it was always our religion. And there was a point in time where I started to realize, wait, there's other Muslims that don't have this rule. Like, and so I had to really separate culture from religion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's where that study came in, and where I actually was like, the more I studied, the more I was like, God, this is actually a really cool religion. So I had that opportunity that I wish everybody had. I don't know that I think everyone has access to that opportunity, but whether or not life circumstances allow us to take the time to really choose our religion.
Right.
And then if you get the chance to choose your religion, how cool is it when you choose the religion of your childhood? Like that doesn't always happen either.
Right. Yeah. Because usually people, when they leave a religion, it's because they feel allergic. They use the expression allergic to it. They had kind of like a dissatisfactory experience or some kind of difficulty with it, or maybe
Right.
it just didn't resonate with them. So, and then how pleasing for your parents, I'm sure, like that.
Yeah.
It's like so nice. But I love that, like, because I think there are a lot of young Muslims who probably also wrestle with that. Did you, in your home culture, your family culture, was it like open to questions, or did you discuss these kind of thoughts with your parents, or is it just more of an internalized dialogue?
Yeah, so I would say not really, because it was almost like we had this, like I always knew I didn't quite fit in with all the other kids. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Wow.
and
Okay.
we actually did have a fairly substantial Muslim community,
Mhm.
but it didn't feel that way, right? I mean, all the people, like there was no other Muslims in my school, so
Oh,
everyone I interacted with was not Muslim. And if I told people I was Muslim, they asked which church that was, so the people around me didn't really know a lot about Islam.
right.
So it did feel like they were like kind of two separate things. There was like living in America, and then there was being Muslim. But so like there wasn't a lot of questioning in that way. But
Mhm.
what I will say is, like, I just always knew from a young age, like, oh, we don't eat pepperoni. Like
Right.
it was just like a thing, like, we
Yeah.
just don't do this. It wasn't ever like, well, why don't we eat pepperoni? And what is pepperoni? Is
Yeah.
pepperoni good? And,
Yeah.
I just never, and I think that might be a personality. I just didn't have it. Like, it was just
Yeah.
like, oh, we don't do this. And I'm like, okay, we don't,
Right. Right.
something
And
we don't do.
that's nice. And it did. Sometimes kids get challenged by other children. Did you feel anyone ever challenged you, or were people just kind of like, okay, she doesn't do that?
No, I feel like people challenged me a lot about
Okay.
Jesus, but
Uh-huh.
not about like not eating pepperoni. Like, I
Right.
think they were kind of like, people I remember having a conversation with a girl I was friends with. We were at the same bus stop, so I saw her every day.
Yeah.
And it was around Christmas time and something, and she was, something about Jesus being the son of God. And I was like, oh no, Jesus isn't the son of God. And she's like, yes, it is. And we're young, we're in elementary
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
little kids. And she said, well, my dad said Jesus is the son of God. And I was like, well, my dad said he isn't. And we never spoke after that. I lost a friendship for that. So I did realize there were, things in life where I realized, like, maybe don't go around and tell people Jesus isn't the son of God. Like, and not from wanting to fit in. I mean, there was a lot of that, but it wasn't that. It was, I didn't want to hurt people. Like, I hurt her.
Right. Right.
Somehow. And I didn't understand how that could have hurt her as a child.
Right. Right.
Like, but that's what my dad said, your dad said this, my dad said that. Okay.
Right.
But for her, it was, obviously more emotional than it was for me.
Right. 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 It was probably the first time, because she was living in like a, what they call homogeneous society. So it was probably the first time she'd ever heard anything like that. But at the same time, your response, I'm glad you had such a beautiful response to that. Like, in the sense that you didn't think it should disrupt the friendship. It just, it was just like, you have, two different views. I'd like to share, I had a childhood friend who, we were both grew up Christian. And so her family, was like, and still is considered like the kind of like a pillars of the community, and very devout Christians. And so we were kids one day, and we bumped into each other, and she was thinking about life, and she said, I wonder if I wasn't born into this family, would I be a Christian? And it was, I remember, like, we didn't really discuss it, but I remember thinking, like, it was so profound to me, the thought, because it's in these little like areas where you don't have any diversity, or you don't really get exposure to other people or other thoughts. It's kind of rare to experience that. So, yeah.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
So that's very nice. So when now, as you like, when you went, because you went to Georgetown, correct? Like,
I went to Georgetown, and part of the reason I chose Georgetown was because at the time, which is many years ago now, they had a Muslim prayer room, and they were actually the only university in the United States that had a dedicated space for Muslims.
wow.
Now it's at every university, alhamdulillah, but back then it was a big deal. And they're a Catholic university, and I thought that was really cool that like a Catholic university would have such diversity. And they had at the time they did not have a Muslim imam. They then be the first university that got a full-time Muslim imam as well.
Yeah.
But they had a Muslim campus, like a big presence of Islam on campus. And I just found out that they opened up now, I believe it's the third prayer room on campus. It's a small campus.
So yeah.
Yeah. So to, just stay, and they also had the Center of Muslim Christian Understanding.
Yeah.
So as you can see, like being Muslim it still is, but it was a bigger part of my personality. It was more out in the open.
Right.
After September 11th, I brought it in a little bit more. I felt like I needed to. In hindsight now, I don't know if that was true. But back then I was like, "Hi, my name's Amina," and they're like, "Oh, that's an interesting name. Oh, it's a Muslim name. It's actually Prophet Muhammad's mom's." I was just like I wanted to be the poster child for Muslims.
Right.
I'm friendly and I'm nice and I want people to know this is normal for Muslims. Muslims are like me,
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that role. It was a big part of my outward identity as well as my inward identity. If that, I don't know if that outward inward is making sense.
No, it is. It does make sense because you feel that joy inside, but you want it to shine out, right? You definitely want it to shine out. And if you identify with anything, you always want to present the best version of that you identify with, right?
Exactly.
Because in a way we are all representing whatever it is that we claim to aspire for. So, and I think that's beautiful and I think it does show how important Islam was and is to you, that you chose your university based on that.
It was a big factor. And then I will, so that was a long time ago. So I'll just kind of fast forward for a second.
Right.
And I went through the same thing all humans go through. I went through ups and downs. I went through, praying 5 times a day and praying all the extra prayers and fasting during Ramadan and fasting all the extra days to not praying at all and not fasting at all, all those different cycles in life.
Right.
Really sick. And when I got really sick, I was very tired. My iron was super low, and it was like taking a shower. After I took a shower, I'd have to lay down in my bed before I could get dressed because just so tired. I was young and just no energy. And part of that just really got me into natural healing.
Nice.
Natural healing got me into, everything one step after the other, things just, you go deeper and deeper. And then I really got into spirituality because I was never into Sufism. In Georgetown, there were a lot of people who were into Sufism.
Right. And
I was not. It just wasn't, it didn't resonate with me.
Right.
So I was just kind of oh, I don't think I'm into spirituality. I really just like my religion.
Yeah.
My meat and potato religion.
Yeah.
Give me the rules. I like those rules.
Yeah.
And then, through this process of getting sick, I really started a spiritual journey, and the spiritual journey actually started. And this is a story in and of itself, which I have a blog post on, which I'll, be happy.
Please share it. Please share it now, because it'll be beautiful. Yeah.
But I ended up walking labyrinths.
Okay.
And as I walked labyrinths, for whatever reason, that works for me, and walking in general works for me, and it just clears my mind, and I can hear God, I can connect to God, whatever word you want to use, but I in those moments I have that I'm connected.
Right.
And I started connecting and really developing, for the first time in my life, really developing a relationship with God.
Yeah.
I hadn't had before. I had a superficial relationship with God.
Right.
I had a very tit for tat, hey, I'll pray and then you give me an A on the exam relationship.
Right.
This was the beginning of a really beautiful friendship. And it was the beginning of God as my best friend, God as my confidant, God as my source. And again, going back to my grandmother, those seeds were sown at a very young age. But, this is one of the things I love about life. The journey kind of brings it all together in a really beautiful way. And that's kind of what happened over here.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I love the walking the labyrinth and walking, because that is a sunnah too. Walking is a prophetic sunnah. And and I think many of us also go through that, where we have the rules give a lot of clarity, which is in some ways essential, and they're wonderful guidelines and boundaries that kind of give us parameters by which we can judge and work with the world. But at the same time, like you said, they can become dry and empty, or they can become transactional.
Right.
Like, and then you're losing the experiential component, you're losing the why, you're losing the meaning. And then when you rediscover that, and you have how you described it was so amazing, but like, and you're literally like experiencing God, you know, and Allah is more than just a conception, but he is the being, the friend, the guide, everything, and you're actually
confidant.
The
The person I go to for, you know, now when things go wrong, it's like, you know, I used to pick up the phone 20 times a day, call my best friend, hey, this is what happened, what should I do?
Right.
I don't anymore. Now it's like, okay, God, this is what happened, what should I, you know, like, and because I feel like I do have a method of communicating, which is internal now. You know, meditation, meditative walking, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I get answers. I get shown signs. I get, you know, so it's a really beautiful thing to not be dependent on another person.
Absolutely.
So that you can actually enjoy other people versus on them, which, you know, has again been my life journey. I'm definitely not done with that, but this whole like, okay, what should I do? What is a big part of my life? A big part of my life is what should I do? What should I do? What should I do?
Right.
And recently, through kind of this evolution, have I gotten to, there's somebody who knows exactly what I should do. All I got to do is close my eyes and sit or go for a walk or be in nature. And it's not about what I should do. It's allowing the next step to unfold.
That's subhanAllah. So that's like, we say that's tawakkul, like absolute trust in Allah. And then the Quran says, I'll show you my signs on the horizon and within yourself. So that's just.
Can I share a quick story with you?
Yes.
Because I just think this is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So last year I didn't get my taxes paid by April 15th. So I just paid them in October this year.
Right.
And, you know, I owed everyone money. So I paid everyone the money I owed them and stuff. And the state of Illinois sent me a bill that I recently got that said, here are your late fees and penalties, because it was due in April and you didn't pay till October. And I was so disappointed because I was like, oh, you know, I should have just paid and blah, blah, blah. You know, you hate wasting money. $300. Like, oh, I could have saved that $300, that kind of feeling. And then I just said to myself, you know what, Amina, you weren't ready in April. It wasn't going to happen in April. This is the cost of not being ready. No big deal. Just let it go.
Yeah.
So put the check in the mail it. Now I've totally forgotten about it. Okay. And all of this time, by the way, all that like self-beating up and all that stuff, I was with God. I was like, God, why can't I get my act together in these ways? You know, blah, blah, blah. So I was with him in this whole process. Okay. Mail the check, whatever. The next day, literally the next day, after I mailed the check, I get a check in the mail from the state of Illinois for $200.
Whoa!
Because they've passed some tax credit. I don't even know. I have no idea what this check is for. They passed some tax credit or the other, and they sent me $200. And it's just a reminder to me, like, there's a bigger plan. Everything's working out. Like, I give Illinois money, they'll send the money back. It doesn't matter. You know, I get, and I wish I remembered this in every area of my life. Like, oh, I offended someone here. It's okay. Tomorrow they'll offend me. And it's life. It flows.
Right.
It flows. And if you can stay centered in God, just, you know, you'll feel the waves hit you.
Right.
I mean, you feel the waves, like we're human. But if you don't like surf the entire wave and you just like let it wash you and get back to that calm ocean, and then another one will wash, and then you calm. And so that's really what I'm trying to stay in that calm ocean instead of riding every wave that comes my way and being it all the time.
Right. I had a Lahori Sheikha, and she said, one of us in the group asked her once, like, how do you know, like, you're evolving spiritually? And her answer was, it's not that you don't have moments where things upset you or you become a little unstable, right? But what happens is you become much quicker at catching it, and you become centered faster. And so you're like just what you described. And so you realize, oh, this is a wave. Okay. And instead of just, you know, losing it and going way out, like, it's like you're anchored. It's like you're anchored. So there's always going to be a little pull on that anchor, but because it's anchored, you can come back to center, you know?
Right. And it's the reminder that there is a calm ocean under this.
Yes, that's
Like, yes, this is a season of waves, or this is the time, full moon, and we're going to get powered by waves, but
yeah.
the ocean, generally speaking, under this is calm.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So may I ask you another question kind of related to all this is, who are some of the people you look up to as life coaches, guides, or credit as being instrumental in your spiritual unfolding, and what made them special and what makes them special?
Okay, so I'll go with the obvious, but won't spend too much time because we can dedicate the whole time to obviously Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Mashallah.
And I would say my favorite thing I ever learned about the Prophet and, about our religion was even a smile is a charity, which really started this concept of good works within me. What can I do for other people? My life is about service. And, I don't have to do anything other than smile at them. And I've
So beautiful.
Check. I've done my service.
Yeah.
So, obviously a huge influence. The other people I really love, Marianne Williamson. She teaches something called A Course in Miracles. Some of your listeners and you guys may be familiar or may not. Love A Course in Miracles. It's been a big part of my spiritual evolution as well. And I think her way of explaining it's really good. And then for manifesting, one of my favorite people is a woman named Jeanette Ma out of Utah. Okay. And she has Goodbye University, and she's a good coach. I worked with her for a short period of time, and I would say it tenfolded my manifesting game. Wow. And then, of course, my personal mentor is a man named Jack Canfield. He wrote all the soul books, and also a book called The Success Principles, which I live and also live it and teach it on a regular basis.
Fantastic. No, fantastic. I'll touch on a few of those because each of those are really interesting individuals and exceptional people. So what you shared about the Prophet, peace be upon him, and smiling, right? That is so, so amazing because where was I going with this? His manner was beautiful, right? And his manner was all about the focus is all on his character and how can we bring that. And I think that when you read and you learn about the prophetic biography, some people say, they have this idea that you have to implement everything or you have to believe in everything. I appreciate that perspective, but I don't think it's humanly possible for everyone to implement everything. But when you take you take what resonates and you take the best parts that really you can apply and you apply it to the fullest, it's such a blessing. It's like bringing that blessing, that sunnah, that joy, that light, it's bringing that into the world. And it's
I want to say something about that. So one of my favorite things about learning about the life of the Prophet was there's two different occasions, and please fact check me. I'm pretty sure I'm getting this correct, where God came and actually opened his chest and cleaned his heart 2 different times. Yeah. And that is my biggest prayer for myself. I ask God all the time to please come and purify my heart. So, without that prayer, without God intervening and purifying our heart, obviously there's things we can do to purify our heart, but so we emulate him.
Right.
But he had a big mission, and God came in with a lot of supplies for his mission in the purification of his heart.
Right. That's absolutely correct. And that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And it's such an important prayer because it's like you said, you kind of you tie it back into reliance on God, because often in this world, we try to do everything on our own, but we are really limited beings. And so if and when we do that, we'll probably be very disappointed and may not succeed as well as we could because we're putting too much on ourselves.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think what I'm hearing implied, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that God wants you to succeed in all aspects of life. And so there's this idea that's in Islam and in many religious traditions, and related again to manifesting and source and the people you shared about, where the universe, however you want to describe the power behind existence, that is actually supportive. If we tap into it, if we turn to it, and it's greater than us. So it's a very positive, supportive force. And then by like connecting with Allah, by connecting with that source, you can realize your dreams and on a level and a scale that you could have maybe do earlier. right?
Right. Which is a big difference if you think about it from like a traditional Christian teaching, which is life is suffering, you're born in sin, all of that. And it's just not been my experience of God.
Right.
I mean, yeah, life is tough. I mean, I've had tough times. I'm sure you have. I'm sure everyone listening to this has had tough times. But I don't necessarily feel like God is doling out everything to everyone as much as you have a desire in your heart, and that was placed specifically in you by God.
Right.
And all the people in your life were placed there specifically to help nurture that desire, or to block you from that desire, so you had to learn to fight for it, whatever it is.
Right.
But was the perfect environment for that desire. The hardest part, in my experience of being human, has been to trust my own desire, to follow my joy. Because I know in my head, and I have the belief system that if I follow my desire and I follow my joy, God will 100% have my back.
Right.
I know it, but the journey to trust it and actually take action towards it is a whole different journey.
Right.
And that's the journey I'm still on. I mean, I'm still, okay, I'm supposed to go to someone's house on Friday, but I don't feel like going to their house. I just don't feel like it tonight. I feel like sitting at home and staring at a wall.
Yeah.
To trust that it's okay. I dragged Miriam to something the other day and she did not want to go. And I dragged her and we got there and it had been canceled. And I just didn't know. And I was like, something inside her knew.
Yeah.
And I overrode her internal desire.
Right.
It was just such a powerful reminder of like, no, we actually, somewhere deep down inside of us, we know. And when it works out for everybody.
Right. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Like I found in life that like, I don't know, kind of similar to what you're saying. I found in life that there's something intrinsic to like who I am. And like, I'm a very accommodating person. So I can adapt to whatever and whoever I need to, and to make people at home and peaceful. And I like people harmonize. But like, if people start to trespass on that intrinsic, like the way your daughter felt, like if people, and it feels wrong, I'll take it. But then at some point that what's intrinsically you will say, no, stop.
Right.
Like, right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can't go.
And our kids, alhamdulillah, as a child, animals, you've got this too. They just know.
Yeah.
And it's trained out of, because I knew there was a point in time where I always knew this. It got trained out of me through the course of my life. And now, all these years later, I'm training it back into me, right? So,
right. You're right. No, it's almost like I'll compare it to domestication, but like there's a book I recently listened to an audio about I can't get the title right, but the wild woman, that we have this, and it's not, but it's characterized as a bad thing, but it's like that, it's that quality in you that's actually it's like a very pure, God-given quality that is so dynamic and powerful, but we're trained to keep it kind of suppressed, or keep it well behaved, or keep it not like that. And it's limiting. So, and I'll give you, related to that, you gave a Christian example. Like my mom was just here and we watched Pollyanna. And I had not seen this movie, but it shows this time period, which was probably like in the early 1900s, like maybe or so. And it was interesting because the church was and the community was very stiff. Everyone was very proper, very stiff, very unhappy as a result.
Right.
Kind of unhappy as a result. Right. And then Pollyanna comes in, and she's from a religious background, but her father learned about, he calls them the glad texts in the Bible, and about joy and about happiness. And instead of focusing so much on the punishment and the fire and the do's and don'ts, read about the joy and the happiness and the gladness. And so she brought that town alive. Like that town became happy. And so it's very powerful, I think, when we shift our focus from doing what we think we should do to doing what we're meant to do.
Oh, it's totally. And you know what, that's a really good question to ask ourselves.
Right.
Always ask yourself is, when I enter an environment, a room or whatever, what quality or feeling do I leave that room with?
Right.
Because if you are bringing in joy, peace, presence, love, you've added something to that room.
Right.
Always think about that. And, you know, especially think about children. Like
Mm-hmm.
what is the quality of my presence?
Uh-huh.
You know, because I can be there. I can physically be at every dinner party. I can physically be at, but is the quality of my presence one where you say, wow, okay, I'm so glad that this person was here.
Right.
You know? Because and it doesn't have to be happy, happy, joy, joy, because everybody
Right.
has different presence. It could just be peace, it could be listening, it could be kindness, but something where you left something in that environment. And unfortunately, we are in a time right now where people are more concerned about what am I getting out of this environment than what am I bringing into it.
Right.
And I feel like that's a very dangerous situation to be in, because there are some dark times around us. I'm not really one of those people who thinks that this is the end of times and everything's horrible, but
Yeah.
yes, there is darkness around us,
Mhm.
but our job is then to be the light.
Right. Right.
Which means you have to be able to walk into a place that is darker than your light,
Mm-hmm.
and not dim your light,
Mm-hmm.
B, expand your light so you add a little bit more light into a dark space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just, I mean, it's something that I think about. It's something I question myself. I mean, you were over at my house recently.
Mm-hmm.
After you all left, I thought, you know, did I add or did I take away
Mm-hmm.
from the joy, the light from that environment? I mean, it's just a question I ask myself.
I felt you added because I took home flowers.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
just a good question.
Self-reflection.
And especially when you have people over at your house, because, you know, you end up running around and you're trying to get things ready and you're, you know, and it's not about that. Like, it wasn't about the flowers, right? Like, that's nice, but that's not what it's about. So it's like, well, did I show up? Was I present? Did I sit with people? Did I, you know, all of that kind of stuff. It's really important because people, you know, oh, why should I join this organization? What can they do for me? It's, well, what can you do for them?
Right. No, precisely. That's no, there's a I believe Hazar Nikon uses this analogy about spiritual guides, and he uses it like the student, and if people don't like the term student, so if you have two people and we're all like lamps with oil, right? But some of our lamps either are lit or they're like maybe it needs a little bit more light. The fire's going out. So the person who's spiritually shining, you don't give anything to the person, you just share that light. So it's like candles touching, but the oil's already there. The person already has what they need. They're complete, but sometimes you just need a spark. You just need someone who, you know, like just,
Right. But I think that's a big thing. I mean, I think if you're on, and I know that this is your audience right now, if you're on a spiritual journey, I think this is a question to just ask, and without any self-judgment, right? With self-compassion, because there are environments that I've entered where I walked out and I thought, I was not kind. I just wasn't, and it's not that I was mean.
Right.
And you know, internally, right?
Right.
Like, you might be there and go, Amina, you were great. But I know I didn't show as the light that I am. And it's a great moment to say, why didn't I show up? Well, I'm tired. I didn't even want to go. I forced myself. Okay. Note to self, next time, don't force yourself to go because you don't show up in your true light. You know, this goes back to our earlier conversation of trusting, right? Or, you know, I just don't like this person. Every time I'm in their presence, I say something I don't want to say. I make some little snide remark, whatever, right? And then just acceptance. Like, you don't have to like everybody. Right. And so maybe you need to limit your time with this person because they don't bring out the best in you. I would like to be at the place in my life where I can hang out with anybody and stay at my best, but I'm not there yet. Right. So it's okay.
It's okay.
But to have that reflection of like, what did I leave in this environment? And I don't need somebody else's, like, I don't need to poll somebody else to say, what did I leave it? Like, for myself to sit down and say, was I present? Was I kind? Was I loving? You know, the things that I aspired to be, did I show? Was I honest? Was I truthful? You know, did I give my opinion be like, was ego? Like, hey, I need to tell you what I think. Or did I hold back because I saw, you know, this person doesn't feel the way I do. Can I just keep my mouth shut and let them feel the way they feel? You know, all these things are spiritual evolution.
No, I love that because the introspection, basically it's introspection. And that's, again, from the prophet, peace be upon him, there are, I think, 3 different variations of this, but some say it's worth a year of worship. And a day of introspection is worth a year of worship. Some say it's like a week, some say it's like months. So it's quite profound, because without asking ourselves and looking and assessing ourselves, we don't really change.
With love. Assessing ourselves with love.
With love. That's a good,
I spent a lot of time assessing myself without love, and that ain't helpful.
Yeah. My husband's sister always says, never try to introspect when you're emotional and upset. Like, that's not, because you're not in the right frame of mind, and you have to wait till you're calm, and then you can look back on it.
You have to do it with God. And going back to my whole theme, you have to do it with God, because God will not show you your behavior in a way that's unkind.
Right.
Just won't happen.
Yeah.
God will just give you a perspective, or show you, or be like, well, how do you think that made that person feel? Or could this, all this stuff, this big things out right now, be kind. If you could be anything, be kind, be kind.
Right.
Be kind. You've seen all these, right?
Right.
And I'm sitting here thinking, for some reason, I don't like it. And I'll tell you why. It's because people don't do anything with it. They wear these t-shirts, and then someone cuts them off in traffic, or, someone gets in line in front of them, and they're not kind. Like, so I don't get it.
Right. No, I think, well, yeah, this is actually a really important topic, because many organizations, and as individuals, like the t-shirt example, but also as organizations, will have like stated missions, and we don't actually match our mission. And so I'm wearing that t-shirt, but I'm not. It's hard. So then what do you put, what systems do you put? If we're an organization, I would imagine you put systems in place where you would try to match that mission. As an individual,
measure.
Mentoring. Measure.
Right. So if you have a mission, we want to feed all the people in America, then you say, okay, well, this year we fed 20 people, we're doing great, or, we spent whatever. So that's what I think introspection is. I really think it's measuring yourself.
Right.
That's kind and loving. If you walked into an environment and you were present and wonderful for 5 minutes, go you. Next time we're going to try for 7, then we're going to try for 9. And then, I wish I knew that earlier on my spiritual path, because I asked this oftentimes to different teachers that I've had over the year. And they said, one day you'll just do it. One day you'll just do it one day. And I couldn't wait. It's so important to get to that one day where I'm just doing it. And now looking back on certain parts of my life, I'm just doing it.
Neat. It becomes automatic. It becomes
I
automatic.
don't know when it happened.
Yeah.
At some point I started to show up and be more authentic. I don't know which day. I don't know which event I became authentic at, like, it wasn't like one time it was just that I was more authentic, a little more authentic each time. And then now I'm more authentic than inauthentic.
Right. Because I think what you're describing is kind of like a training of the self. So like you were trained, and you were constantly questioning and asking yourself. And then that process creates a greater and greater awareness. And then the awareness brings, it changes how we behave. It changes how we think. It changes how we act. So even in the moment, you might be even starting to have this, how was that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And on a dime, you can even.
Catch yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. So, okay. So, what's one thing that most people get wrong about you?
I don't know. I saw that question that you sent me, and I have been thinking about that. And I'm like, you know what? I get, if I had to choose one, I would guess that people think I'm happy all the time.
Okay.
I guess that would be the one thing that people know. I'm unhappy in private and happy in public.
Right. Nice. Yes.
And there's lots of reasons for that. Take too much time, but I will share a few. Because I do believe in the stuff I teach. I do believe in manifesting. I believe so deeply in gratitude. I do believe God is always with me. And I forget.
Yeah.
And, I cry in the corner of my room, and I get mad, and, have a little tantrum and stomp about. Yeah. And I have that close knit, right? I've got like my husband seen that, some of my family members, I have a couple of best friends, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to spread that.
Right.
I don't go on Facebook with that. People say, oh, Facebook's so fake. And I'm like, well, I'm very fake on Facebook, because if I'm having a bad day, I am not going on Facebook. And I'm not going to talk about it. Yeah, you're getting the best of me on Facebook. I will, I'll cop to that. You're not going to get my sob stories on Facebook. I
Right.
will write about them in my blog after the fact and
Mhm.
when I've come to the other side of it.
Right.
But when I'm in something, I don't talk. Again, I have a small group, but even now, part of my evolution is not even to talk to my small group.
Because you're turning more and more to God. Yeah.
I'm turning more to God. And do I really need to go to my husband to go complain about something? I mean,
Right.
really?
Right.
Like, he doesn't have enough going on in his life to then
Right.
hear me complain. Like, I do need it from time to time. Again, I'm still on my journey and I'm human, just like all of us. But it's not helpful. He never knows the exact right thing to say.
It's like every husband's nightmare and dilemma. Can we talk? Oh my gosh. Like, no, do we have to? Like, that's so funny.
The one good thing about going to him is by the time I finish telling him whatever it is, I'm so well aware that this is my normal issue. And this is the same thing I come to him about every time it happens. And that this is the story I tell myself, and I made up the story, and that this is probably a completely made up situation again.
Yeah,
So I do get that
relate
benefit.
to that. I relate to that because I have like I think we all have different in Hinduism they call it samaskar, right? So we all have different, for lack of a better word, hangups. But like some of them are really heavy, some of them are really deep, and they're the ones that kind of resurface all the time because it requires maybe the most work, or they're hard to unearth. And so I do the same thing with my husband. He's like, I always give you the same answer.
Yes.
He's like, turn to God, do spiritual practice. Like, it's always the same answer. But it's definitely, I really like what you're saying.
I have to say, the one thing my husband always says, he's like, who is it? I'll go beat him up. And I'm like, and that's all I need. Because of course I don't want him to. I'm like, this is the spiritual person who wants to go sick my husband on someone.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful.
I just thought of something. Have you heard of BK Shivani?
No, I haven't. That's a first. Okay.
Check her out.
Okay.
I'm in love with her.
Okay.
I seriously want to go to India just to meet her.
Okay.
So
Very
nice.
nice.
She's got tons of YouTube videos.
Okay.
And she has a couple of books she's written. I haven't read any of her books, but I binge watch her.
Okay.
So
fantastic.
P.K.
Okay.
Shivani, Shivani.
Okay, fantastic. And I'll put that in the write-up for the newsletter. I'll actually note all these. Yeah.
Yeah, please do. I love her. If people are resonating with what I'm saying, BK is your girl.
Good. Fantastic. So do you have time for further questions, or do you do? Okay, great. Yeah. So good. So and now this is the part I want to talk about, how you help people manifest wealth, experience the power of joy, and live their best life. So what does that look like, and how do you coach people through that?
So I mentioned earlier that I got really sick, and part of being sick was I was just so exhausted.
Right.
And I am a type A overachiever, have been my whole life. Everything's got to be perfect, blah, 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 that type of personality. Right. I couldn't. I was too tired. I couldn't even do all the things that I wanted. I always want to help people. I want to do blah, blah, blah. I couldn't. I had no energy. So I started dropping the ball left, right, and center. And I realized nothing happened.
Oh, yeah.
Happened. And I started, because I only had a limited amount of energy, I started doing the things that I really wanted to do, because I could, I just couldn't do everything. So I kept doing stuff. And then things just started getting done for me. Like, wow. Like, let's say I had to pay bills or something. I just didn't feel like I didn't have the energy or something like that. I'm not even kidding. Something would happen, and either I'd get like a letter in the mail the next day that'd be like, oh, you overpaid on your last bill and you don't owe anything. Or just bizarre things where it would just take care of itself. Or I needed to be in a meeting and I just didn't have the energy to prep for the meeting. And then 10 minutes before the meeting would start, I'd get an email saying, hey, I'm so sorry, so-and-so has a conflict. Can we move this to next week? And I'd be like, yes, we can, because I never even got around to prepping for it. So I start to realize through this, the power of joy.
Wow.
And you follow your joy. You, what happens is you are in what I call, this is what I call it. And once you're in the flow, you don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Life takes care of everything for you because you're just flowing.
Mhm.
If you've heard of Abraham Hicks, Esther and
Yes.
Jerry Hicks,
Yes.
her big quote is to let go of the oh God, what paddles,
Yeah.
right? And just row downstream. So you're always paddling upstream. It's exhausting. And that's how most of us live our lives, is paddling
Right.
upstream. And she says, just let go of the paddles and just go downstream with the boat and see where you end up. And
Mhm.
that's literally what I learned. I created this program called the Joy Challenge. It's every April. It's 30 days. It's completely free the first year that
Wow.
you do it. We create a Facebook group. We have the most fun. And the only thing you do is you have to do one thing every day that brings you joy for at least 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you choose a big goal, something you've been for a long time, and you do no work on it for 1 month. And then see how much progress you've made. See how much progress you've made towards getting the goal
Yeah.
without doing any work. And I will tell you that we had one person, the most miraculous one was, we had a woman who wanted to move and move to another state, blah, blah, blah. There's a pretty large goal.
Uh-huh.
And she came to the kickoff call. So we hadn't even started the Joy Challenge yet. She came to the
Mhm.
kickoff call. Before the first day of the Joy Challenge, she got her goal. So she had started practicing already. She was out on a walk on the kickoff call because she was like, I just have to do 2 minutes a day. That's it, blah, blah, blah. So that was our fastest one, but we've had
Yeah.
a number of people get it their first week. We've
Uh-huh.
had a number of people get it during the challenge. And then of course, some people get it, a couple months after, but the realization that you don't have to work to get your dreams. You
No,
really just,
that is fantastic. No, that is fantastic. My husband, I think he might do it. Can men do it too? Because he really likes
yes.
this idea. Like,
Yeah, we have a lot of men in our,
good,
we
good.
have mostly women, but we have a lot of men in our group too. And it's every April, every single
Yeah.
April. And we have, there's each week is a different theme. And then there's like bonus days where we do random acts of kindness. It's a fun group. And I have done it now. I think this will be year number 8. And I have a number of people in there who have done it every year for 8 years with me.
Yeah.
So it's just what we all do in April. We do
No,
joy.
that is, I love that. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to tie that back into another example from the life of the prophet, peace be upon him. And I like this story because it has 2 aspects. So when he came into Medina, it was such a big event for the community and so celebratory, but everybody wanted him to live with them. So and this happens, right, in community, like there's conflict and everyone's pulling and, and so he let his camel decide. Right. So he just let go of the reins. And the camel decided, and that way everybody was rejoiced and they were happy. Nobody felt slighted or hurt.
Right.
And it ended up being the best possible outcome. So that's just, and I love it. I'm probably signing up. I'm going to sign up. Yeah.
It's so much, seriously, we just have so much fun. And
Yeah.
I'm so, it brings out my greatest joy to do
Right.
it. So I'm at a whole nother level of joy when we do Joy Challenge. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then the manifesting money, I'll just touch briefly on that too. I actually have a book that I wrote, an ebook, and it's called The Ungettable Get. And it's
Okay.
how to manifest the thing that you want the most, your heart's desire. So for a lot of people, manifesting money is the big thing, but for some people, they're like, money, whatever, I get that all the time, but love, or health, or other stuff.
Mhm.
But my number one way to manifest money is to give it away.
Oh, wow. How
So
interesting.
whatever you want in life, give away. And
Wow.
I learned that. So I am the type of person who's always had a ton, huge friend circle. I have a lot of people who would tell you that they are my best friends. So when people ask me who my best friend is, I'm hesitant to say because there's so many people who are positive that we're best friends, whatever.
Right.
But it's because I give away friendship.
Right.
There's no criteria to be friends with me. You want to be friends with me? Let's be friends. And I've met people who are like, well, I don't know. I've got enough friends. And then they don't have very many friends. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's whatever you hoard, you don't get more of. So if you're the type of person who watches every penny and, is so cautious and is really worried about your money and where it's going, that's not the mindset to manifest money. So I would say, write a check today for an amount that's a little bit uncomfortable for you, not so uncomfortable that you're, going to put yourself in a bad situation, right? But just For somebody, it might only be $1, but
Right.
right? Like, it depends on what your financial situation is,
Right.
but just an amount that's just a little bit uncomfortable, and go use that money to be of service to somebody else, anybody else, right? You can donate
That's
it to
beautiful.
the kitchen, you can whatever. And I guarantee you that within 30 days, you will have somehow received double that back.
Wow. No, mashallah, that's fantastic. You know, this also reminds me of a biblical story about this woman comes to Jesus, I believe, in the Bible, and she only gives like 2 cents, like say 2 cents, but that's all she had. But nobody knew that, but Jesus knew that, but that's all
Right.
she had. And then the wealthier people watching her were mocking her.
Right.
But they gave almost nothing of their wealth, but she gave all of her wealth.
Right.
And then of course the moral of the story is what you're saying, the reward, the return is far greater. And then how she internally felt, and then also like it's just amazing. And I like what you said about friendships, because I've also felt that way about, like, I don't believe in this, like, now Uday tells me the technical definition of a best friend would be like one person. I was like, that's fine, but for me the idea of being best friends is that you really connect with the person and you really enjoy them, and I don't see why it has to only be one person. To me it's like, spread the love and have as many, like, so many people, and each person is unique, so you have unique relationships with everyone, so you can have multiple best friends, and they bring blessing into your life, and hopefully you're bringing blessing into theirs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just, whatever it is that you want in life, give away. And some of this stuff's more complicated, right? So like, if you say, well, I need more time in life, well, then volunteer to give some of your time away to other people. You say, I need more health in life. Okay, well, health's a little complicated one. But the thing with health is, do something for somebody who's in a worse health condition than you.
Okay.
You know, so it's like you're just constantly trying to get, because like, okay, let's say I'm suffering from some disease, like cancer. You know, a lot of people have cancer. So let's say you're suffering from cancer or something, but there's things that you can do that somebody who maybe doesn't have legs can't do.
Right.
So it's like you just find a way to give some of your health to somebody else.
Right. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
It's like you just give, and I'm not talking like, you know, big things. I'm talking tiny things, you know?
Yeah.
I keep my time for homeless people, which, you know, where I live, we don't have very many, but in DC we do. I just, any opportunity I have to give somebody some money, I'll give to them. I look at it as it will come back.
Right.
It will come back. And it will come back. I will say, you know, my challenge when people are starting this is I'm like, you know, within 30 days, you'll get double. But my belief is you get 10 times what you give.
Right. No, absolutely. No, I believe that. Yeah. That's fantastic. And I have a question about manifesting, because it's been on my mind, and and it's one of the trickier ones I can't seem to get. But like, if you want to repair relationships, say you had relationships but they were broken and you were partially at fault, and maybe the other person, and maybe it's even not necessary that you have to restore that relationship, because like you said, some relationships have a limit, like they have a time and a place, and then you move on. But for me, I kind of always carry like a kind of like a regret, or like I wish I could have been or behaved or done something differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, how would you manifest restoring relationships? Or like, I guess.
So I wouldn't. So for this one, I would do less manifesting and more spiritual. I would pray for this person's happiness for 5 minutes a day.
Wow. Okay.
That's it.
You would wish them
not contact them.
Yeah.
Don't contact them. Don't reach out to them. Don't do anything. And after 30 days of you praying every single day for 5 minutes for their happiness, you know, may they be happy, may they be healthy, may they be wealthy, may all their heart's desires come true, may all the good in the world come to them, everything that they want, you know, just, and 5 minutes, like max. I mean, you could probably do it in literally 2 minutes, and but it's the consistency. It's every day for 30 days. And then at the end of 30 days, you'll have some resolution. Either they will out of the blue contact to you, or you'll just not care anymore, whatever the case may be, but just pray for happiness for 30 days.
Wow. No, that's fantastic. I really like that. I really like that answer.
And also remember, everything you give, comes back to you. So when I say, you know, when I'm praying for you to get everything that you want, and praying for you to manifest big dollars, and praying for all your relationships to be fantastic and stuff, I'm also bringing that into my own life. I'm vibrating because you're manifesting. So you're vibrating at the level of abundance, vibrating at everybody being happy, vibrating at, joy for everybody. You're raising your vibration, which is prayer is amazing for raising vibration. If you, and which is one of my issues sometimes with praying the Muslim prayer is that I got into just doing the motions of the prayer.
Right.
But when you're actually in with your heart, when you're praying with your heart and you're really engaged, your vibration is through the roof. High vibrations.
Right. No, that's beautiful. Like what you shared remind me of the Quranic verse, we created you from a single soul. Mm-hmm. So because we're all actually interconnected and we're all from a single soul, what we wish for someone else is also what we wish for ourselves. Because in a way, at the highest spiritual level, we are one because we all come from the one, and he created us as one soul. So we have and so that's why there's this is a powerful ripple effect. And that's why if a person's energy is good, you feel good. And if the energy is a little like my daughter, my daughter, she put it this way. She said about, because I tend to be emotional. She's very amazing. She's very I don't know what the word would be. She's
more practical.
Yeah, logical, practical like that. Yeah. And so, but she pointed out that she said the only problem when people are emotional is that it impacts other people. Like you can change the atmosphere of a room or your home or by your state. And she said, and especially if the emotion, and it's not to say that we should not have negative emotions or feelings, but we have to, like you said, we have to know, kind of turn within and go to a place or, space where we can have that, work that through that.
Right.
And that way, because you don't have to show everybody that.
No, you don't. Yeah. And we do tend to show it to the people we love the most.
Right.
We tend to unload on the people that we love the most, which is, but that single soul concept too, is that's really the premise of A Course in Miracles as well.
Right. Fantastic.
Beautiful prayers from there too.
I'm gonna write all this down, and when I'm gonna take it, and I'll include, because I think our time is probably getting close, right?
Yes,
it's getting close. So
I know I have so much more to say though. We'll have to do another one sometime.
I would love that. Especially, how about around April?
Yeah. Well, April's a little bit of an insane month for me, but maybe right before April.
Right before it, so people, so we get more people joining your course.
Yeah. And I'll just throw out here too, if anybody wants to look me up, my website is lunchwithcinderella.com.
I love that.
You can find the blog there, and you can find information on Joy Challenge there, and lots of other good resources there as well.
Wonderful. My oldest daughter would love that. So, thank you for everything you shared, for giving me your time. I very much appreciate it. I'm certain our viewers, subscribers will, and I can't wait to write it up and to share it. So thank you so much, Amina.
You're welcome. Thank you too. It was so good talking to you.
So good.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.